discipline's boring. Like, say you go to the gym, the first month is boring because you're doing it. You're not seeing as much output.
You see nothing in the first couple of days.
Yeah. You're like, oh, and I'm just hurting. This is boring. Like, what am I doing? And then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and you're like, okay, now I'm benching more, I'm lifting more, I'm able to squat more. Where it is like gym analogies is I love this because
it's perfect.
Yeah, yep. Because at the end of the day, it's like your business is like you've got to treat it like a gym. You got to do the boring stuff so that you get the good stuff.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Well, mate, let's kick it off. So this is the Finances Podcast, and Reyan, how long have we tried to make this happen?
It's been at least a couple of years, but I think it's well worth the wait.
Yeah,
and I've been looking forward to it. But it's great to be here and good to chat to you, Jack.
Thanks, mate. And so let's go with the formal introductions to begin with. So Reyan Fernando, professional EOS implementer with EOS Worldwide. You were talking about your website at the moment. What do you actually trade under or operate under yourself personally as a?
So I mean, myself. I guess the business name is Beyond Growth.
Yes.
From a podcast point of view and growth intelligence from a business point of view. But I was finding it was diluting the things a little bit too much. So I just sort of stick with the EOS Worldwide because it just makes a bit more sense because I'm not actually doing actively anything in that growth intelligence space.
Okay.
But I just needed a local entity name. So
yeah,
that's kind of the way it went. But so yeah, even this heading into the end of this year, next year, the rebrand is like I've sort of taken the growth intelligence website down and just create a reyanfernando.com.au website.
Sure. Just
to keep the branding a bit easier. And by Beyond Growth is the fun bit with talking to people like yourself.
Yeah. Now, I want to sort of deep dive into EOS and what you do as a sort of a professional EOS implementer, but I also want to, for those people that don't know you, don't know your background, I maybe want to just reverse a little bit and tell us a little bit about your history in your personal life, your professional life, and then what took you a couple of years ago into a different direction with your current role.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, 25 years in Geelong now, which is awesome. I moved here when I was 18 and just worked in Geelong for over 25 years. Basically studied in Vic University, just in down the road. So it was actually quicker to get to Footscray from Geelong on the V line than it was I was back in Clayton back in the day, okay. And that was just so many more trains. So yeah, moved to Geelong and just I've been living here ever since and working and got into IT. Really got into the tech space. Worked with a local IT company for about 3-4 years, and then started my own business because the classic. You're in your 20s, you're like, I could do that better. Let me do it better. And quickly learned a lot about running your own business.
A very common theme.
Yeah. But then, sort of start to scale, start to grow it. And I struggled with keeping people was probably the big piece. And that was kind of what led me to catch up with the guys from Evil Logic back in the day. Did a bit of acquisition, started working with them. Catapulted in the leadership team, worked in the leadership team for about 8 years there. Ultimately, we were able to grow that quite well together as a team and really hit our mark just pre all the craziness in 2020. And it was just, I found that growing in that space and leading that space was a lot of fun, but the lockdowns and things like that really burnt me out because I get energy working with people. For me, if I'm not in the room with people, I don't know what it is. I just struggle with remote work. I struggle with Zoom calls, and we know it's a necessity now. We all do it, but man, I love being in a meeting boardroom and just having face to face with people, and that's kind of just where I get the energy. So, but that few years of not having that, just really, I struggle with that.
Yeah,
and I just have this. I'm not sure it's fond memories or good memories, but during that process, I sort of got a passion from a creative point of view, cooking barbecue and, going on Instagram and doing all that stuff and making a lot of videos. And head of finance at the time, she's sort of Lizzie, amazing working with her. And she just looked at me and she's like, Reyan, when I watch those videos of you on Instagram, you look so much happier than you are here.
How'd that feel, her saying that? Good, but...
Yeah, look, it was good. But ultimately it was just one of those moments where at the time, I'm like, yeah, and I think it's just one of those things where, business is business, whatever. Like, I've got to work, I've got to make money. So it was just kind of like, I think I just brushed it off at the time. But looking back, that was such a little like point in time where I went, okay, actually, yeah, I'm just not happy in that space, in that IT space. So stepped away gradually, got into a bit more barbecue stuff, did a bit of content, realized there's no money in barbecue very quickly. So I have huge, just for the guys that are in that space, just so much respect because that is a lot of work. So stepped away, jumped into a sales role, got quickly bored of the sales role. And, while I was at EvoLogic, we found something that was called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and ran on that for 6 years. And that really changed the business. And I remember 2019 as a very specific year where we had all the right people in the right seat. We were all clear on our vision, where we're heading. We had all these things where I'm like, man, 2020 is going to be amazing. I remember, and like that was a moment. And this is kind of more why that burnout happened so much, because I was like, yep, okay, cool. I can see where I'm heading. I was heading into potential roles in the business that, would take me to another level. I was like, cool, this is great. We all know what happened in March 2020. And that just hurt. And that hurt for so long. And being in one of the most locked down states in the world, that one really hurt. And but EOS was something that kept us going. It was great that we had it. It gave us the structure, the way we ran our business, my meetings, the way we came together as a team, the way we sort of executed our goals and our rocks. So that really made a huge difference. So doing the sales process, coming in 2023, I was just like, it was like the analogy is like the Jumanji drums, you hear it in the background.
Boom,
yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
So I had that with the EOS basically. And I'm like, right.
There's something calling.
There's something calling. And I've toyed with the idea for a few years prior to that. And just, had chat the wife. I'm like, pull the trigger, and we just did it. And loved it. And it was, as I was sort of saying off air, was you effectively, as an EOS implementer, you do start your own business again. And I remember saying, after finishing at Geelong Computer, my first business, I was like, I'm not going to ever do that again.
Not going to be a business owner again.
Never again. And here I am. We did that. It's been 2 years working with some amazing leadership teams around Victoria, and just loving it, and just being in the face-to-face factor again there, like just working with people to grow their business and scale their businesses. It's really fulfilling and just gives me so much energy. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually had the opportunity to talk to Chris from Evo, because we were clients of yours for a number of years. And Chris he actually gifted me Traction. So the Gene Wickman's, have I got that right? Gino Wickman's book. Yep. And I haven't read it yet. That's it's still on the list. So today is probably, again, another good opportunity for you to sort of unpack at least the principles that you guys are sort of demonstrating to people as they start to scale their businesses. But one of the things I said to Chris was that just the common thread that exists between any business trying to scale, like it doesn't matter whether you're a tech business, whether you're a financial services business, whether you're a marketing business, there is a pain point. Amy and I, our practice manager, did a Harvard study tour earlier in the year. We had Professor Boris Groysberg, and there was he was presenting to us, and he talked about this. Essentially, it just talks about this pain point of businesses as you grow on sort of energy and enthusiasm, and you hit a tipping point where, for example, you just can't seem to retain people, or hit that tipping point where you can't sort of the business still is super reliant on you. You can't get everyone else to be on board with your level of enthusiasm or understanding of where the business is headed. And it's kind of where businesses go to die. Yeah. And I think it's at that point that you realize, actually, we need systems. Like, we need systems for growth. If people are trying to grow and scale their businesses, you've got to rely on more than just entrepreneurial enthusiasm that gets you to a point.
Yeah.
And then you realize, actually, we need structure. We need systems. We need something that everyone can understand and abide by. So I think I saw a lot of parallels between sort of the Evo business and understanding a lot about that sort of growth path and the pain points to our business in financial services. So I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about what the EOS system looks like and how you as a professional implementer? How do you go about actually introducing that to businesses that maybe haven't had systems or structure in their life? They've just run on kind of energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean that's a common story, isn't it? You start a business because you're good at something,
Yeah.
and you very quickly grow because you're good and people want to work with you, and then everyone hits that ceiling, and that ceiling's different for so many different businesses, and what you do when you hit that ceiling is probably the most pivotal part. And I hit that ceiling myself with my first IT business, where like I couldn't keep people, I was losing people, and it was just trying to scale up to that next level, which I was like, I just needed the right people around me to do that, but I didn't. And hence joining up with the guys, with Chris and EvoLogic made that sense from that. That made sense to move that way.
Did you know at the time, like when you were struggling to keep people, do you have a sense of why that was, or it was, you still couldn't put your finger on why it was that you couldn't retain people?
Yeah, for me, it was at the time was not having a good enough client base. So I knew I needed to grow, and I sort of wanted to scale and move into that space, but not having the right amount of cash flow to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then sitting there going, okay, so for me to do that, I need to get X, Y, Z amount of clients. I can't say that I'm logical at the same time, right? So I'm entrepreneurial, but at the same time, logically, I'm like, okay, that's going to take a bit of time. And what I loved about work, like Chris, I've known Chris Davies now for like so long. But so many times we've had coffees, we go to like some breakfast here and there working together. He's like, Reyan, when you're ready, just give me a call. That was always the thing. We just always end a conversation with like, when you're ready, have a call. And I remember it was one of my guys, I was like, okay, cool. I can attack this part of the thing. I thought he was going to hang around, senior engineer. And I'm like, great, fantastic. And he just literally said, Reyan, I'm leaving. And I'm like, okay. Here we go again. I was sitting on the couch, and I remember sitting there. The TV was going. I had a laptop, and I was like, "Hey, Chris, come here with that coffee." 2 weeks later, I was in their office.
Yeah,
it was the quickest acquisition that ever happened, and we're just like, and I remember that feeling of like this. My shoulders felt so much lighter, and like you walk into totally different levels of stress working in a larger team, growing.
Yeah.
So it was the honeymoon period was very short, and you're like, okay, now we still need to get into business and do some work. But yeah, that was a great moment. And I guess we still struggle through that 5 years when I first started with Evo, that we struggled through a lot of like trying different things. Like what process are we going to do? Okay, we need to use this system. We need to use that system. And like we tried different things. So we had a lot of flavor of the month techniques we used and systems we used. And people just got tired of like, oh, here's another one. We're going to start. And like Chris would come up with a couple of ideas. We mull together. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do that. And it was like, quick start, let's get going. And then never really sharing it properly with the team. So 6 months later, we're not even doing it anymore. Just the classic, right? And you see that all the time until EOS. And that was like a massive turnaround time where we just like, I remember listening to Traction back in the day and going like, oh, okay, this is the one. And then we had our first, we sort of try to self-implement. So EOS fundamentally works on three things, which is vision, traction, healthy. So one is like to make sure your whole team sort of knows where we're heading and how we plan to get there. Really, really important. And that's the whole team too. Traction's just instilling discipline and accountability. And if you put discipline and accountability into anything in your life, it just gets better.
Yeah.
Gym,
investing,
cooking barbecue, everything, right? And healthy is just basically, and this is the key, and this is where 2019 was for me. Was healthy was like we had the best team I've ever worked with in 2019. I was like, I'm looking around, I'm like, all heroes, all rock stars, all superstars, what do you want to call it? Amazing team. We were able to that year change our ticketing system and our remote management system within months of each other. With like, yeah, we had to hustle and get the work done, but like the team just got together and we're like, yep, cool, we get it done. There was no like, but this, but that, or work around people or things like. We just got it done, and it was just, I was like, man, this is unreal.
So right people in the right seats, knowing where they're headed.
Yep, and basically get where we're heading and want to be there. So when you talk about right people, right seat, we have the core values fit. So we're like, okay, do they fit our core values, or can they stand beside our core values and be a part of it? And the other one is GWC, which is get it, want it, and capacity. So do they get where we're doing? or do they get what they need to do?
Yeah.
Do they want the job? Not any job. They want the job we're giving them, and do they have the capacity? And that's not necessarily time. That's just experience, education, all that. So we had across the board, RPRS, GWC, like everyone. And it was just, it was magic. It was magic, Jay. I missed that year. That was such a good year. And just, that's why, like I said, it was so painful 2020 onwards. So that's kind of where we instill these systems. So we sort of start with the vision. We sort of make sure we know where we're heading, how we plan to get there. That's a 2-page business plan effectively, which is so simple. And that's why one thing that attracted me to EOS is it's simple. Like, cause I'm just, we do a thing called Colby. Have you heard of Colby?
Help me, Colby.
Colby's like it's just an analysis system you can use, or a system that basically it's not a personality test per se, but it kind of tells you how you instinctively work as a person.
Yeah, we do a thing called the DISC profiling.
Yeah, I've done DISC as well. Yeah, similar to DISC, but it's got a bit more instinctiveness. So I've done 2 Colby tests 6 years apart and had got the exact same numbers. So that's where I'm like, okay, cool. But I'll find out there's one thing where there's high fact finder, low fact finder. It's just how much information you can take. And I'm a bit of a low fact finder, so I just need the dot points and let's just move on. Let's just do it. So that's what I like about EOS, because it's simple enough to go, right, we've got this system. What's our core values? What's our core target? Where do we want to head in 10 years? What's our niche? What do we do well, better than other thing? And why are we here? Why are we here? Why do we do? And our marketing strategy. It's just a very simple breakdown of just basically the vision. What's the 3-year picture? What's that going to look like, and things like that. So having that simplicity for me was it just clicked for me, where I'm like, okay, cool. And then going into work and just executing. So, getting those rocks in for the next 90 days, let's get them done. So just building that sort of discipline into the business was amazing, because it just meant we weren't just kind of just jumping into different things, the whole shiny objects in the, let's do this thing, let's do that. Like, what's our co-focus? We want to make sure that, is that in our focus? Yeah. It made a massive difference to us.
I know from our experience in it, everything you say I resonate with, because that's that sense of everything being a tactical priority. Like you're literally in the weeds. You head down. You don't actually look up at all, up and out to the future. I've got it sitting to the left of me. We a week and a half ago presented our updated vision, mission, strategy, core values to the team, because we've got a relatively new team, and it's amazing how many of the things that we think we articulate really well, and even the sort of priorities, you call them the sort of the rocks, which you can explain in a second about those sort of key milestones or actions that take you, the discipline to take you to your long-term vision. It's amazing how, unless you are purposeful about articulating your vision and your mission and breaking it down from that very long-term, the ability to, as a business owner, to actually look up and out rather than in all the time. Mm-hmm. I think that is, it's a discipline in itself. And I think that's where the value of someone like yourself that is externally removed, I sort of see you as almost like we are as financial advisors to our clients.
Yeah.
Because our clients are emotionally attached to their situation, but I'm removed and I can have a helicopter view of their situation, and I can see with great clarity where they should be headed.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine that's a very similar circumstance for yourself when you have a new client that maybe hasn't done any of the strategic planning. They spend a lot of their time in the weeds. They're tactical geniuses because they're getting things done, but they've never really stopped and got up and had a look out. Maybe they've had the same experience as you, where they just can't work out why they're losing team members.
Yeah.
Why people aren't on the same page. Why don't people get it? And I think I can't emphasize enough the importance of that strategic planning, so that the ability to actually look forward, which a lot of businesses, I'm assuming you can tell me, they just don't do. They don't have a framework, they haven't thought about it, or they're muddling through trying to invent it themselves as they go.
Yeah, it's a mix of everything there. So a lot of the time those sees, like, people do the strategic planning. They go away for a couple of days, do the big picture stuff. And then they come back and go, cool, here's a strategic plan, shares with the team, and then it gets filed away, and then they don't do anything till a month before the next strategic planning session. We're like, okay, we better have a look at what we're meant to do, sort of thing. So that's one part of the thing. A lot of people don't. I think a lot of people fall into the trap, and I see this with leaders who basically fall in the trap of busy being, ticking a box. Like, okay, I'm doing something, I'm busy, which means it must be good. But, as a leader or an owner of a business, if you're busy packing boxes and shipping things out while cash flow's failing or sales are dwindling, or which obviously play hand in hand with each other, like it just doesn't work. You've got to work on your business. And that's what EOS makes you do, or that's what I do with leadership teams, because we go, all right, cool. We literally go, it's a day away when we kick off. So we have 3 days within 2 months of each other where we kick off. So a focus day, and then we build a vision over a couple of days. We start with traction. So we always say traction first, because if you don't have the discipline in your business to actually check on these rocks, check on these numbers as we go, then you're going to basically create a vision and go like, okay, cool, that's great. And
we can't execute on it.
You don't execute. Yeah, you're going to go straight back to just doing what you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
So
I want to lose weight, but I don't have a gym membership. I don't have the equipment.
Yeah.
I don't have someone to keep me accountable.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what we do. So we go, all right, what's the structure of the business? Because we want to make sure who's accountable for what. Day one. Like that's literally what we do. It's like, okay, accountability chart, which is like an organized org chart, but fundamentally we work on accountability. It's like who's accountable for sales and marketing, who's accountable for ops or services or whatever you want to call it, and who's accountable for finance. We split it out more than that, but fundamentally, like once you start to go like, okay, Jay, you're in sales and marketing, hypothetically, that's what you're in, and like, okay, and these are your roles. This is what you need to execute. So we get that in place. We make sure we know how you run a meeting. We have a very simple way, an agenda. We run a meeting. We say we run meetings like this, because if you start to follow these processes, it makes it so much easier. We build out a scorecard, and all of a sudden people have the right tools to go back and go, okay, cool, I run a meeting like this. We know who's responsible. There's no vagueness. There's no two hats for, two people in one seat sort of things. We're trying to make sure everyone's got the right accountabilities. And then we come and start to build that vision, and makes a massive difference. And part of that building process is, just working on, who we are, what do we want to do, but then fundamentally starting to bring that down to the ground and go like, okay, based on where we're going to be in 10 years, how are we going to look in 3 years? And that kind of helps you sort of go, okay, so we want to be, biggest or smaller, biggest or largest or this much money. What we work out what that 10-year target is. Yeah. Trying to make it as much as possible not about money, about something we can actually rally the team about, like you just, like, even if it's financials, like, we're helping this many people improve their finances. Like it's just such a better way to articulate, because if you do the maths on those people, you'll hit 10 million or whatever it is, right? But fundamentally, how do you rally the people around behind that?
Yeah, the finances is an output of getting the people and the processes and the clients right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a, because then you can take your whole team along with you. Because just saying, hey, we're going to be $40 million in 10 years.
They're great. What's in it for me?
Yeah. Yeah, people at the call face don't care. They're like, oh, okay, great, cool. Like, do I get a pay rise? Like, whereas, if you're like, we're going to help 10,000 people by 2035, and this is how we're going to help them. And like, oh, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, and it will present these opportunities for growth for you in a role, in position, in leadership. Yeah,
and also so much better that if you go into a business networking event and go like, oh, what are you trying to achieve? And you don't want to say 40 million, like that just doesn't resonate with people. Like where if you said this and they're like, oh, tell us how. Much better conversation. It's got so many layers to making sure that 10-year target, it actually means more than just dollars. But anyway, we bring it down to the ground, 3-year picture, and then we take that 3-year picture and go, okay, based on 3-year picture, what are we going to do in the next 12 months? So we set 1-year goals, and then we break those 1-year goals into 90-day rocks. So 90 days, what are we going to do in this 90 days to achieve those 1-year goals? All the way along, we have revenue and sort of profit that we track, and some measurables that we track across each of those areas to make sure we're growing. But it makes a massive difference, because then what we do is those rocks get checked every week in the L10 meeting agenda that we follow. Like, how are the rocks? Are they on track? Are they off track? Those measurables are on your scorecard that you check every week. On track, off track. If they're off track, we'll drop them down and we'd talk about it. How can we fix it? How do we get it back on track? So that's the discipline and the accountability injected into your weekly meeting. And that's the difference. So we start with the leadership team, and, as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. So if you can get them accountable and, have discipline to make sure they're doing the L10s and they're talking the talk and they're sharing that with every single one of their team members, all of a sudden the organization starts to come up together. And it's that cliche one where, you got to tell people 7 times before they hear it for the first time. And I think now with the world of TikTok and, Instagram Reels or whatever you want to call it, like, I think attention spans are 2 seconds. You probably have to tell them a few times before they get that vision. So you got to repeat yourself often. That's so important and I know I struggle with that because I'm like, I hate the sound of my, I know I've been talking now for about 2-3 minutes nonstop, but I hate the sound of my voice, especially when I'm speaking to people. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that idea of repetition, because sometimes you have a sense that, listen, I've told everyone where we're headed, they should know. And that sense that you have, like, people hear things in different ways. People are ready to hear a certain message at different times. Like, we've got a team that spans between team leadership group that some of them, Delta's been with us more than 20 years. And I've got Steve Game, who joined us 2 days ago. And they have different perspective on where we are as a business. And so that repetition, it's critical, but it's also critical that you want your team to be advocates, right? So when I'm not here, like when I'm not talking, and I do like to talk, I don't particularly enjoy the sound of myself on the podcast, but I do like to talk. But the danger of that is that you talk all the time. And what I have learned when I'm in meetings is that, like, I want to encourage others. You want to encourage others to be lifted up to the point where they can be the messenger of the same vision, the mission, the strategies, the rocks, the actions, and the daily disciplines. And I think that is kind of the magic of scaling. The magic of scaling is where we have a few principles in the business, but one of the core tenets is this idea of decentralizing. So decentralizing command away from, a principal dependency, like having the Jay as the boss and the owner driving, direction and implementation. No, we want to lift everyone to be leaders in their own right, in their own roles. And I think for anyone thinking about scaling their business, that idea of, not even from a physical, but giving away ownership.
Yeah.
And it might be physical ownership in an interest in the business, but it's giving away ownership and control of where we're headed.
Yeah.
Because the people in your business, if they're guns, they've got better ideas than I do, and they can bring those ideas to the table and help influence where we're headed. I think it's when you think about growth in any business, one of the reasons why most businesses fail is because this is complicated. It can be the growth in a business can be overwhelming. And I've had experience that at times. I've seen it with some of my clients who are business owners. And you mentioned sort of your first iteration in business is you get to the point where this is just too much. Like I'm trying to manage people. I'm trying to think where we're headed. I'm trying to feed the family. This is too hard. And then I think that's where having, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, the people like yourself that have experienced business in the past and have utilized frameworks that have worked in the past, it's not, what do they say, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And the EOS system is not something that people feel like they're copying something. No, it's there to be utilized.
Yeah.
It's there because it's a successful principle that has had provided great results for businesses for many, many years. Maybe we talked briefly about Gino Wickman. So Gino Wickman was the original author of Traction. Now, how long has the EOS system been in place? How long has it been?
It's been over 20 years now. Yeah. So Gino's a lifelong entrepreneur, and he's on another level. I haven't met him yet, but everything you hear about Gino, he's just one of those guys that just is ultra focused and gets stuff done. But yeah, basically he was called into his family business to try and turn it around, and he started just developing these different techniques and cobble them together and go like, okay, we're going to run the business like this. We're going to run the meetings like this. And he just brought this business and turned it around, and eventually it sold. And that was like, he's like, oh, okay, that worked pretty well. I wonder if I can do this with other businesses. Ultimately, then he took those tools and frameworks and started to work with the EO chapter in Detroit, and working with other businesses, and started to test the process out, and basically start to create what we know as EOS, and slowly built that up and started to create the framework, the 6 key components, the tools, and even just the process. Like it's basically multiple iterations of like, okay, we're going to do it like this, we're going to do it like that, till he got to the stage where like, okay, cool, I've got something I can basically scale from a sharing point of view with other people and get other people on board. So he started working with Don Tinney, who's here in Melbourne in August for the EOS conference. It was so good. The OG, he's just black and white. I love it.
So he's the Geelong EOS implementer, or is
No, Don Tinney was like #1 implementer in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So Gino created it.
Yep.
And then he's like, all right, I'm going to take this to market. I need someone to test out as another implementer, so to make sure it's not just he did exactly the same thing.
The system works, it's not me.
Yeah, exactly. So he did that, and Don's the first one that went out and did it and started put through and actually run the system. And it was just that's how he started. And then he wrote the book. And then we had Mike Payton, who's another great implementer back in the US. And just basically they built it out. And so it started with like 2 or 3 implementers, multiple businesses, starting to create this process and testing and fine-tuning it. And now we've got 25,000 plus businesses. We've got 880 or 870 implementers around the world doing it. And it's amazing to see, but it's just simple. And I think, something that resonates with all implementers is we help people change their life by making sure they get control of their business. Because sometimes a business is like then some people's biggest asset. They've got nothing else because they put all their money back into the business. And I've sort of come across a few businesses and they're doing it for like 20 years. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to make it how are we going to grow this? Because you've sort of been the same for 20 years. We need to grow this because you're going to retire in 10 years. Like, we need to make sure that this is something that you can benefit from, not just a job that you've had.
Yeah.
Because that's the trap, right?
It's it made me think of a very short episode I did with Bridie. We've got a separate stream of the podcast called the Young Minds Podcast. And Bridie asked me the other day, she said, if you've got a great idea in business, like how do you get started? And we were just talking conceptually about vision, mission, SWOT analysis, those types of things. And what I said to her was that unfortunately most people in business, they effectively just buy themselves or anchor themselves to a job.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes they will be getting paid less than they would if they went and had another a job somewhere else and worked for someone else.
Yeah.
And that idea of a succession plan, like actually growing the asset value of your business, has not even entered their mind.
No.
Or they don't know how they get to that point. So their business becomes almost an anchor to them, an anchor to their life, an anchor to their financial situation, and that they don't know how they're going to scale. How do I get out of this?
Yeah.
This is all I've done for 25 years. I don't know anything different. And I think I mentioned earlier, that is the sort of the Bermuda Triangle of where businesses go to die. Because eventually people just go, oh, this is too hard.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I'm either, they exit at a loss or they go and work for someone else. And, that's the end of their entrepreneurial days.
Yeah.
Where I think if a lot of people, if they got a sense that there is another alternative, and that alternative is to have systems and structure, that there's great potential for a lot of businesses that have reached this plateau point to scale with systems, but they just need some direction. They need some guidance. They need some external influence, people who've been there and done it before, systems that are tried and tested. And I think that's where you come in, Reyan.
Well, that's where EOS comes in. Yeah. I love the system and I love being in there and holding accountable. What I love about EOS, though, that everything in traction, the book, you can go to eosworldwide.com. You can download the tools. You can download the framework. You can download everything and do it yourself. And I think that's sort of, even if you're a small business, like a micro business, having a 2-page business plan or having a business plan that you can actually action and work with
and articulate.
And actually go like, yep, cool, I'm gonna keep working on it, is there. Like, you can use the tools. It makes a massive difference. So that's what I love about it. Everything is free. As an implementer, yeah, like you said, I can come in as an external body. It's good when there's a leadership team. I can come in and, Jay, like if you're going through the process, you don't have to facilitate. You just literally sit there and you work on your business. You let someone like myself do the facilitation. That's the way the magic happens. To the point where like people sort of have that lifelong job, which ends up, the business, but it's their job effectively. The biggest thing that I see that to sell your business, or to have that, that lifestyle business at the end of the day, you have to do the same thing for both. You got to make sure you aren't dependent on, and so that's where people sort of go, and I like that sort of almost becomes like an aha moment. People go, oh, okay. Either way, if I can be busy, if I'm going to make this work and step away and do a 2-day-a-week thing and go fishing for 3 days a week or whatever it is you want to do, or play golf, it's the same work as trying to sell it. Because if you can scale yourself out of the business and it's not dependent on you and the processes are there and you can drop some decent, profit at the bottom line, like that's the goal. And if you can do that, it's amazing. And I think in saying that though, there's nothing wrong with people who want to just make it a job. There's some people they start a business, they just want to work their own hours. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, if you are feeling stuck, there are ways to get out of that. And there are people to speak to like yourself as well with regards to like, how do I plan this financially? Because sometimes you might just have to invest to get it going over the next 12, 18 months, right? It's really, really important.
Yeah. It's amazing how much your ego comes into play with that idea of how important you are in your own business. And, I know it for sure, like that sense of are people going to do it as well as I do it? So whether it be talking to clients, whether it be how we discuss our services, whether it be how we strategize. And I think once you realize you can put your sort of ego in check a little bit and realize that no, there's other amazing people out there, and giving other people an opportunity to actually grow in your business doesn't detract from business growth. It accelerates it. Done in the right way, it can absolutely accelerate it. And I was thinking about when you said that, like, I love the fact that the tools that you help implement are free. So people, if you want to go and have a look at them, it's a little bit like financial planning as well. Most of the things that we do, people could go and do themselves.
Yeah.
Like people could go, but what is lacking, I think, is like most people don't have the discipline. Most people don't have the discipline. They'll see those tools, or they'll see that they can go and invest themselves. They can set up a self-managed super fund themselves. They can do it all themselves. Yeah. But what's missing, and this is where, even in the world of technology and AI and automation, relationships are important. And actually people that can come in and facilitate and project manage almost the change in someone's circumstance. I think there's enormous value in that. So, and again, it's probably a plug for what we do, and I think it's definitely a plug for the benefit of using someone like yourself to help with implementation. Is that it's nice to have human interaction. It's great to see some checklists that you can follow, and if you've got great discipline. But I dare say most people that if they haven't already got some systems and processes in place, it's probably because they haven't got the discipline, or they don't know what structure they should be following. So that's where I think there's a supreme advantage in engaging someone like yourself if you're feeling stuck in business. So maybe let's talk about who those people are. So what are the types of business, without sort of divulging, who you support at the moment? But what's an avatar of the type of client, the type of business that you would or could look after?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, 10 10 staff or more, just from a simplistic point of view, with 2 mil turnover. So that's kind of where an implementer can have the most impact. So we say 10 to 250 staff. So at the higher level, we sort of help out that way as well. The turnover there is just purely from a affordability point of view, that people generally, if they're turning over 2 million, they probably have a bit of room in the budget to go, okay, I can invest in financial planning, I can invest in business operation, this EOS implementation as well. So that's kind of where the simplistic point of view. It's just, but in saying that, I've got 2 or 3 clients that aren't that, but they want it. So it comes down to the leadership team, the owners and leaders who want to grow and scale, who know that they're stuck and want to actually get to that next level and want the help. And because they lack that accountability and discipline, they understand themselves. So know thyself in that sense, like, okay, I know I can't do this by myself.
Yeah, they see the value in engagement.
Yeah. And I've got clients that know a couple of years, and we talk all the time in between sessions. So it's just one of those things where I feel like I'm in 10, 11 different leadership teams. And I love it because that's just how my brain works, and almost to the point where I love the fact that I can go from speaking to sales in a fast-moving consumer good company to some sort of operational issue in an IT company to a finance issue in sort of an insurance company. They're just going through some processy stuff, right, in the same day. So for me, I love it because it's just like, okay, cool. My brain just loves the variety. So that's the bit. So from that point of view, like really comes down to the hunger to want to understand and run the business better. But so that leadership team part is more important than the financial and size metrics.
Yeah. Again, I keep imagining in my mind or seeing the parallels between people seeking any sort of advice, because unless people want it, like unless you actually see value and actually engagement in getting advice, like I can see someone that needs advice, but if they're not enrolled, I suppose, in the need for getting advice themselves, then they don't see value in it. So I think, that's a pretty important part. So maybe let's talk about, like, someone's recognized the need. And you mentioned it earlier, but what does the process of engagement look like for engaging you and then onboarding someone to sort of implement the EOS system?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned traction before. So one thing I try to tell people is retraction.
Yeah.
So that's almost like a good
I should have read it before we had the podcast, mate. Sorry.
That's all right. So I say retraction because that kind of gives you the fundamental view of how it all works. If traction doesn't resonate with you, then I can still explain it and go through the process. So we do something called a 90-minute meeting where we come in, we present EOS, we work through the 6 key components and explain how it's going to work and how that's going to work in your business. So we do a little presentation to make sure, okay, is it going to work? It is? Okay, let's go through that. So, but having people who read traction, they kind of know what it is and they want to find out more. So fundamentally, that's a key, because I think the hardest thing I find from a getting people to understand EOS is, like, if they don't read traction and if I don't get a chance to present, it's a longer journey to try and start with them, and that it's just business is business with the way it is. But yeah, once we do that 90-minute meeting, do the presentation, explain EOS, and we just, if they want to kick off, we kick off with that focus day. So it's literally, we start with 3 sessions that are a couple of months apart, and that really just gets you started and going. And we just, from then on, after the 3rd session, we run on a quarterly cycle. So every 3 months we get together, we review the prior quarter. How did we do? Did we hit our numbers? Why didn't we hit our numbers? Let's predict better for next quarter. So what did we learn? That kind of stuff. Look at the vision again. So every quarter we'll look at that vision. And I think that's the bit that's really important, because sometimes when we don't do that, you tend to just zigzag through business. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that. Whereas you're like, oh no, hang on. We decided at the start of the year or start of the month or whatever quarter, whatever it is, that we're going to do this in 12 months. That's detracting from it.
Yeah.
And that's the important piece. Then we go, and then once a year we do annual planning, which is 2 days where we come together and we not rebuild the VTO, the vision, the 2-page business plan. We just go and review every page. Like, are the core values set? Is our focus right? Is our target right? And if it's all tick, 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 make a couple of tweaks. We reset the 3-year plan picture, because obviously now we're 12 months
another
in the future.
12 months
What's
ahead.
the next 3 year like? And then we reset the other side, which is like 1 year from now, what are we going to do? So we just, and repeat and go. So generally we work with people for our teams with about a couple of years. That's kind of the average. Some people longer, some people shorter, and some people, I've got one client's like, Reyan, we don't want to not work with you ever. So let's just keep it going. And yeah, that's the thing. We'll just keep going. So that's the good thing about EOS is there's no contracts. We just work session for session. Every session's guaranteed. So if you don't find value, you don't pay. And that's keeps us on our toes, which is great. And I just make sure that I have a masterfully present and teach and facilitate a session, because that's a major guarantee to have.
Absolutely.
And then people then fundamentally work on when they are ready to just do it themselves. And that's the thing. Once you work through and build this accountability and discipline the team, you don't need to implement it for life. Like, we're not there to embed ourselves in your business. We're there literally to get you going, get you moving. And then some clients just go like, okay, we'll see you at annual planning. We'll handle the quarterlies.
Yeah, I was sort of picturing the potential of your role becoming almost like sitting on the board of advice in the future. Like every 12 months, the annual general meeting for a business as it's scaled. You sitting there on that board of advice, having experienced the growth. You got pretty good insight into how that business has progressed.
It is, and I've loved some of the aha moments through the whole process I've had with clients, and being able to sit in a meeting and kind of like early days, kind of getting a feel for the team and being able to go like, hey, what does that person do? And then the owner's like, oh, they do this. And I'm like, but what do they do? And then like realizing, okay, that person just wasn't the right fit. But as an outsider, you sort of see that straight away. You're like, oh, hang on, that doesn't feel right. And it's like, but hang on, I'm like, oh, those numbers seem a bit loose. What's going on? Just being able to call it out. And the more I've worked through with teams, and in the early days, it's all about building and growing, but then not like just getting used to the system. But then a few quarters in, that's when the accountability gets turned up a little bit, because I'm a little bit competitive.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I want them to win. And sometimes if I'm the one in the room that wants it more than them, I call it out. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why am I here? If you're not completing your rocks, you're not hitting your numbers, and you're not calling this stuff out, because the idea of having those weekly meetings is that you call stuff out as a team. You go, hey, we're off track. Why? It's like, okay, we had to hire 3 people and that's put some impact. Okay, that makes sense. Or we've lost a major client and, it's hit our bottom line real quickly. And whatever it is, there's a reason for it, but identify it and adjust. Because I think that's the one thing I hate is like people go like off track. And it's like 2 weeks before a quarterly and like it's still off track. I'm like, it's been off track for 2 months.
Yeah.
What's going on? So how do you you got to lift that up with the team. So I find that really important. And once people get that piece, then they come in like, yep, all our rocks are done. We've hit our numbers. Let's go again.
Yeah.
And that's when the team, like, people love to win. Like, and when you come to a quarterly and we've had a winning quarter, and whether that's numbers, rocks, where it is, it lifts the team up to go, let's make next quarter even better.
I think sometimes it's understanding what winning looks like.
Yeah.
Because sometimes winning or celebrating wins. Because a lot of businesses just, you win, but you're so focused on the negative, because negative news and negative news draws your attention, and you forget to celebrate the wins, or you haven't clearly articulated what winning looks like. When you articulate what winning looks like your quarterly rocks or your 12-month targets, and you say, we nailed it.
Yeah.
It's, even ignore financially, just as a human, we like winning. We like succeeding. We like knowing that the activity, the discipline we put in led us where we wanted to go. And I think when you don't know where you're going and you don't know what winning looks like, we're just muddling through. We're just muddling through in business really with hope, and hope's not a strategy.
No.
And so many businesses spend a lot of their time just hoping that what they're doing will pay off at some point in time, rather than having the discipline. Now, you've been doing this for a couple of years now, since you sort of wound up previous roles. What have you learned? What do you reckon's the hardest for businesses in that transition from maybe having a sense that they need to have some structure, they need some discipline, engaging you. What do people struggle? What do businesses struggle with in those first 12 months? What's the hardest thing for them to get right?
The hardest one's people, I find, across the board. And it's usually that they're one or two that just sort of have the wrong person in the wrong seat. That can cause a lot of issues. And a lot of time spent thinking about those issues. And it's amazing. Yeah. A couple of times I've had conversations with clients. It's like, what are we doing about, this person? And like, yep, no, we're going to have a conversation, and like literally drag it on for a year. And then they finally, we'll move them on or whatever, or they'll quit. And yet, and then the team would come up to them. They're like, what took you so long? And I'm like, come on. Like people's a big one. But I'm finding a lot recently as well with different industries. I feel like we've sort of come off a good few years, that the post lockdown time where cash was cheap and people were spending money, and people sort of seem to have ignored, or not ignored, but they've sort of reduced their sales activity and their sales work. So winning new business is a bit of a struggle. And I'm finding the thing where it's like, and one thing I learned, especially in that, spend that 6 months, and it's amazing, 6 months in fast-moving consumer goods, the role, like that is sales like on steroids. Like I was doing stuff and I'm like, okay, but then that at different scales can work in every business. And it's all about, from a sales point of view, it's all about activity. And I'm like, what did we do? What activity did we do? It's like, oh, we didn't do enough. I'm like, oh, come on. So yeah, that's sales piece. So I think that we sort of talk about major functions in a business, but sales and marketing gets ignored a bit too much, especially in that small business. And I, rightly or wrongly, but there's a lot to do with the fact that like back in the day, you get a Yellow Pages ad. You spend your $12,000 a year, right? You might have a crappy website. You might get a Geelong Info Pages ad in Geelong here. And that's all you did. That's all you did. And you did some networking and obviously goodwill, referrals, everything. But now, so where do you spend your sales money? Marketing money? Where do you put your money? Like you got to get your website, your Google ads. You're not going to get anywhere on Meta unless you're paying them. And then each one of those is like, you can add 1,000 to each one of those a month. And all of a sudden you're dropping 4 or 5K a month. And so a lot of small businesses can't do that. So, we talked about even just how, this podcast, how it helps from a marketing point of view, but it's just finding those things that you can do that are low cost but high impact, from a sales and marketing point of view is super important, especially in that small business place. And really comes back to that one thing is people buy from people, and you got to build the trust. And how do you build that trust? With other people. So that's why podcasting is great, but fundamentally it's like, how do you get that into the market? But yeah, so those things, people and sales and marketing are feeling as a bit of a trend. Some clients are doing fantastic, like just nailing it. I'm like, why am I here? Like I've got an annual planning coming up in January. I'm like, you guys don't need me. Like, no rat. We want to work with you. I'm like, oh, great. So this is fun. But yeah, those areas are a couple of areas I feel, I think if they can get help, especially in the sales marketing piece, is really, really important.
Yeah, activity cures most things. Like activity in sales. So what is our core business? And in our world, our core business is, growing and protecting clients' wealth. How do we get in front of more clients to help more of those clients? And you're right that you can spend a lot of time on people managing the wrong people, focusing on all the things that are maybe not going great, whereas activity cures most things. If you can actually go, what is it? What's our economic engine? What is the thing that actually drives us as a business? I don't know whether we said it on air or off air, but that the output, the lag indicator is sort of the financial output.
Yeah.
But the stuff that comes before that is having the right people, it's having the right systems, it's having the right focus around your clients or your product. Get those things right, the financial output will be there.
Yeah.
But it requires discipline. And not all of us, I don't think we're great with discipline. Like I think that discipline is something that some people, I think, inherently have discipline, but I actually think that it is a learnable skill.
And it's something you got to practice.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think discipline's boring. Like say you go to the gym, do the same workout every single day, or you do your Monday, Tuesday, like Monday to Wednesday. I remember going to the gym 5 days a week, and every Monday was it was chest and back or whatever it is, or maybe not chest and back, but you know what I mean. Like we sort of do your thing, and it's the first month is boring because you're doing it, you're not seeing as much output. You're not seeing,
you see nothing in the first couple of days.
Yeah, you're like, oh, and I'm just hurting. This is boring. Like what am I doing? And then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and you're like, okay, now I'm benching more, I'm lifting more, I'm be able to squat more. Where it is like gym analogies is I love this because
it's perfect.
Yeah, yep. Because at the end of the day, it's like your business is like you've got to treat it like a gym. You've got to do the boring stuff, so that you get the good stuff. Like you can stand in front of the mirror and like flex your pecs, right? Or whatever you want to do. Like you've got to be able to do that. And that's the bit that I think one part is boring. The other part is people get stuck in the fact that I'm doing busy work, so I'm busy. But that busy work's not getting me new business, and not getting me in front of clients. And that's the bit that people fall into the trap. Just because you're busy, and
I think it's the gym analogy is perfect. I love it because it's the idea of deferred reward. And, day 1 at the gym, no result. Day 5 at the gym, you're sore. It's painful. It's horrible. You go, why am I doing this? And none of us, I think, work very well with that view of deferred reward. And it's interesting when you think about exercise, if you've actually got fit before, like if you've got fit for anything, whether it be running a marathon or you're CrossFit or triathlon, when you get fit and you're run fit or swim fit, you go, how good is this?
Yeah.
Like it's just that feeling of accomplishment and the fact that you had pain and effort to get there. And I look around it, and this is not a slight on anyone that, hasn't exercised or done a marathon, but I go, you don't know how good it is. You don't know how good it is to get beyond that period of pain and discomfort and have had deferred reward. And a lot of the success in business, I think, is having gone through the pain.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the win that you feel, like the dopamine that you get as a reward is because you've gone through all the pain. And I think a lot of when you talked about being busy, one of the things that comes to mind when people are busy is that you do get a little bit of a emotional reward from being busy. You get a little bit of an emotional reward because tactically you've got that thing done.
You've ticked some boxes.
Or you've got that thing off your plate. Tactically, it feels great. But if that tactical item, that thing that you actually got done, isn't aligned with, the vision or where you're headed in 3 years, it's pointless. You're prioritizing the wrong things. And I think that is where, again, back to, it's the recurring theme, obviously, of this conversation is making sure that the things that we're spending our time on in business, those daily disciplines, the actions, the things that are consuming our time, they have to be prioritized to get us where we want to go. They've got to be pointed in the direction of our vision, and they have to be things that are communicated so that every single person in the team, when you're asking them what are they doing, they can point to where we're headed as a business and say this is going to help us get there, rather than say I don't know why I'm doing it. It's I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed. That's one that I don't really enjoy that statement of I'm overwhelmed. And I think I heard overwhelmed being described as lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. So I'm overwhelmed. What with? I don't know. I'm kind of busy. I can't articulate why I'm busy or what I'm spending my time on, but it's making me feel overwhelmed. Flip that over and focus on the things that are actually a priority, and overwhelm is replaced with feeling like you're progressing with success to the end goal. You're not getting overwhelmed if you're going to the gym and you're seeing progress. You're not getting overwhelmed if you've booked in to run a marathon and you're training for it. You know exactly where you're headed. When you get up in the morning and you pull your runners on and you're going to run 10Ks, you know exactly why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Rather than getting up and going, why am I doing this? Why am I running? No idea. Mate, we could talk forever, and I've certainly enjoyed the conversation in terms of business and growth, and I think this is such a relevant it's a relevant topic, it's a relevant concept for business owners. For those people out there that are listening to this and think, actually, this is exactly what I need, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they find you? And how do they engage you if they want to talk to you about having you implement the EOS systems in their own business?
Yeah, no, it's been great chatting, mate. I did have one tool I'd love for people to try, especially if they're listening and they're feeling overwhelmed. One thing that is really valuable, it's a very simple tool, and if you Google this, you'll find it on EOS Worldwide, which is the Delegate and Elevate tool, which is simply a process of listing everything you do, the good, the bad, the ugly, on a sheet of paper, and then putting into 4 quadrants and working out what do you love doing and you're great at doing versus what you don't like doing and you're not good at doing. If you're spending a lot of time, and if you look at this as 4 quadrants, if you're spending a lot of time as a business owner in the bottom quadrants, that needs to change. That ultimately is telling you you're working on the wrong stuff. And how do you make sure that you delegate that out so you can elevate as a business owner and take control of your business?
Yeah.
You can find me on LinkedIn, mate, Reyan Fernando, or reyanfernando.com.au. But yeah, just I'm across a few different channels. But yeah, would love to speak to anyone. And again, it's it doesn't even have to be an implementation. If you just want to have a chat, I really do love just speaking to business owners and seeing how I can help and point them in the right direction. Because yeah, EOS may not be for everyone at the right time, because it's a bit of a understanding, it's a bit of a want, and it's a bit of a timing thing when it comes to EOS, but happy to help and speak to anyone.
Well, I think you're talking about spending your time on the things that you're passionate about and that you're good at. You've definitely done that in your role with EOS as an implementer. Good on you, mate. It's great to see the progression over the last couple of years, and I look forward to having you back on for a round 2 and a round 3, and maybe diving even deeper again into some of these concepts. And I'm sure it'll continue to be well received from the Geelong business community as well. So thanks again.
Thanks, Jay. It's great to be on. Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to, don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PB Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.